Esquivel to Garcia. Off the deflection. Los Fresnos comes back and wins. Santa Maria will put up a three. Bang! Santa Maria!
Warner, here comes a headed jam. Counted for two. Field. Adios! And the Falcons win on a walk-off. And it's saved. What a game.
Smacked to the left. That is gone.
Lob for Perez. That's my play. Off the backboard, counting, and a win. And a win. Brian Perez wins the game for the Santa Rosa Warriors, and they go.
Starry nights, lay back, or splash down, brunch, lunch, or late night munch. That's as hard as it gets at South Padre Island. Voted Texas Travel Awards Destination of the Year. Plan your escape at sopadre.com.
We're the St. Joe Bloodhounds, and you're watching Real Sports Live. We want to thank you again for tuning in. Our microphones may have been down just a little bit there, but again, it's a special show where we're coming to you from Luke Furia Motors in Brownsville, Texas. We're going to be announcing the all-star rosters for the RGV Coaches Football All-Star Game, which is January 7th. It'll take place in Edinburgh. And right now joining me, Ruben Farias, the president of the RGV Coaches Association. First, thanks for inviting us to be a part of this. Thanks for making the trip and being a part of this show.
First of all, I just want to thank you guys for what you all are doing for the organization and for promoting our sports and so forth. But it's a privilege to be here with you guys and hopefully get the word out, get these the rest of the community go support these young men on January 7th at football all-star game at Edinburgh High School.
Yeah, let's talk first of all the selection of the date. After COVID, we finally got through all of that mess, and we had an all-star game last year over at Harlingen, successful event, and this year it moves over to Edinburgh. You know, talk about the excitement just from the coach's perspective of saying we get to have another all-star game, things are getting back to normal.
First of all, we decided to make the change because we felt that it would give an opportunity to be to have our seniors in better shape compared in the last couple of years when we wait all the way to May. Sometimes young men stop doing any exercising. The risk of injury is a little bit higher. But again, you know, January 7th, the excitement is always there. I know that the communities are excited. Last year was a great atmosphere in Harlingen. We just selected Edinburgh this year to try to give the West an opportunity for the people there to support and make it better for them.
Talk about you know what the Coaches Association, what it means to be able to put on this all-star game, and you know, from the bigger perspective of one last chance to showcase these kids who oftentimes you guys are looking for that one last chance to let them find a college to play at.
This all-star game is usually, like you say, it's an opportunity for these young men to put the pads on one more time, to represent their school, the community, and even if they get a chance to get seen by a college school, I know that Georgetown's going to be here, so hopefully we can get some kids get selected and get seen and have a good outcome, and just an opportunity for them just to go out one more time with full pads, because some of these young men might not get the opportunity to play again, but they get to play one more time and get it out of their system.
And one of them, one team gets to circle that magic of saying, I won my last game I played in the year, because so many often it doesn't happen. But an all-star game gives those players that chance to do that. Coach, again, the selection of Edinburgh was just simply to kind of move it around, allow the West to have their fans to maybe have a little more chance to get to the game.
That was one of the reasons. The other one reason is Edinburgh was willing to help us out financially, because it's all the monies that we're collecting is for scholarships for these young men. So to help them try to raise money to help them at the end of the school year, they just have to apply. The organization, all we do is try to help. It's a nonprofit organization. We're just trying to raise money, help these young men in scholarships. And the two major the two major components that we try to raise money is through our all-star game, the football all-star game, the East and West, and the Meet of Champs. And those are the two big fundraisers that we have to try to raise money. Last year, I think we gave close to $20,000 in scholarships to 20-some students. So we're trying to raise more so we can give them more this year.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. We also talk about you know, what you guys do as coaches as far as trying to keep your players active and still getting the pads on one more time. You know, so from a football perspective, you know, how do you go about these players that are going to be part of these teams that are around your program? You know, what do you do to cater to them?
Well, we just make sure that they constantly, whatever equipment they need to use from the school, we provide them with that. We also allow them to come in. I know that a couple of the students that I have are allowed to work out with us to continue to stay in shape and continue to lift and make sure that they prevent injury. But it's one thing at a time. You just try to motivate them, keep making sure that they stay in good health.
And again, what I was talking about during the pregame or the pre-part of the show is that the biggest factor I think in an all-star game is the bigger the crowd, I think the better performance that you get out of players. Because if we can have that place sold out, rocking like we see in playoffs,
Yes.
then I think these players are going to step up to another level. So the fans, let's talk about. I think you're going to just say the tickets are available day of.
The day of, it's going to be $5. It's going to be at Richard Flores Stadium. We're playing at 7 o'clock. Gates will open at 6. So if anything they need, and we're trying to avoid just coming in, just pay in. We'll have a cash app or cash, whatever is more convenient for you guys.
So you tailgate early and just make the lines big. But again,
Right.
talk about a coach. You've been to All-Star games, and you've seen the All-Star games that have the smaller crowds. You've seen the bigger crowds. Talk about how the players usually perform at a bigger level, at a higher level.
The more the bigger the crowd is, the more excitement there is. I know last year the East had a bigger crowd than the West, and through the game, different times in the situation of the game, where the momentum was changing, the crowd would encourage the East team, and there was one point where it was the West was getting ready to score to try to cut down the score to a 7-point lead, and defensively they rose to the occasion. The defense started motivating and chanting, and the defense ended up getting a turnover to seal the deal.
And again, you can feel that energy coming from the crowd there. So again, I want to make sure that we send that message out loud and clear. That it's $5 to come out and enjoy some football. And once you hear some of the names on these rosters, I know we'll talk to both coaches here, Coach. But there's no shortage of talent in this year's All-Star game.
I think this year both sides are equally matched. I know both sides of the group have talented athletes at the skill level, and even the offensive line, defensive line. There's some great quality names, and it should make a great game. I believe that both groups are pretty well selected by both squads, and should make a great game.
This is a selected team, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. Ruben Farias, thanks for joining us here. I know it was a long drive over here. We may have you on another part of this show before you take off back on the road. But again, any last things you want to send out there to the coaches, the players, the parents, the fans about this event?
Well, just first of all, I just want to invite you all on January the 7th to Richard Flores Stadium, and go support your sons or daughters or your community members or the athletes that represent your community, and just be there for these young men. This is a way for us to try to make some money to, at the end, give them an opportunity to give them some money to go to school and so forth, and maybe help them out. Maybe it's a jewel coming out, get seen, and just support them. We thank you for everything you've done, and we invite you, and we expect you there.
That sounds good. Coach Farias, we'll be back with more as we'll continue getting ready to announce these rosters. They're right here. We've got them. The roster for the RGV Coaches Association All-Star Football Game, January 7th, Richard Flores in Edinburgh. Back after this.
And you're watching Real Sports Live.
Ibanez Tortilleria, serving up freshly made in-house corn and flour tortillas since 1994. Try delicious menudo, tasty barbacoa, fresh tamales, tacos, pareadas with juicy grilled chicken, and tender fajitas. On Mondays, buy one barbacoa taco and get one free if you mention that you're a Bloodhound fan. Located at 4726 Paredes Line Road, Brownsville, Texas. Open every day at 6:30 a.m. till 9 p.m. To order, contact 956-541-9594.
We're the Sanford Leader Lady Trojans, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Our service is unmatched. Our commitment to our team and our community, relentless. Our products are innovative and exciting. Fruya, we're what's next now.
Back here at Luke Fruya Motors in Brownsville as we continue with our Talkin Sports here on a Wednesday afternoon, our traditional spot to be as far as our Wednesday show. 2 o'clock each Wednesday. We're here. We were through football season. We're now in that transition period between football into basketball. Just around the corner, softball, baseball, soccer's going on, track and field just around the corner as well. We'll continue to have our shows here at Luke Faria since they're one of our sponsors here on Rio Sports Live. We're talking about the RGV Coaches Association and putting together this year's All-Star football game, which takes place on January 7th in Edinburgh, Richard Flores Stadium. And right now joining us, the Vice President, and that's J.C. Ramirez. First of all, Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, we talked with Coach Farias about the importance of the event. Scholarships is the biggest one. You know, you circle that big number that you guys look for to be able to disperse monies in directions to allow players to get that little extra that might get them into that college to play there. That's important. Talk about when you guys select these teams, because we haven't announced any names yet, but there were more players that wanted or could have played in this game. And so talk about the selection process from your perspective, narrowing this thing down.
So absolutely, one of the things that is very unique and special about this game is that because it is run by the Rio Grande Valley Coaches Association, we have great input from every head football coach in the Valley. We make it a point to have representation from every school, whether you are a very small 1A school through a large 6A school. Obviously, once you reveal the rosters here, you'll see that every school got represented, right? And that's very unique, but it's also very special. And we take a lot of pride as an organization to be able to pull that off. It takes the Valley is a big place, and there is a bunch of schools. So you talk about having to have a great organization. I think our organization has that from the founding members to where it's at now. It's always been an organization that even as a young coach, I always looked at, and I knew that it was an organization of excellence. And I think that kind of holds true through today. So the point I'm trying to get to is, yes, these are legitimate large rosters, as you would see for a Friday night game, but absolutely not every kid that got nominated gets selected. I think both teams are around 53, 54 players on the roster for this year, but we probably had close to 180 to 200 kids nominated for each team. So, each coach from the different high schools takes a lot of pride in his own program, and so therefore they're going to nominate the kids that they deem worthy of being selected. But then there is a process that takes place, and there's a committee in place, and then we also get the input of the two coaching staffs that are coaching the game, and we dwindle down to what we have here in front of us today.
All right, and let's talk about you talk about the diversity and being able to get the MMAs, the St. Joe Academies, right alongside with the Harlingen and the big 6As across the valley. There's 50-plus football teams in the Rio Grande Valley, and when you're talking about this many kids playing, but it's no shortage of talent. We looked up and down this. We're going to go through the rosters, but in this case, it wasn't like, well, just plug this kid in because we need someone from this school. There's legitimate talent here on these teams.
Absolutely. So there are some very, very versatile kids that have been put on this team. You mentioned MMA. We have a young man participating from that school who's got a great background. We were real excited to have him on. I think he's got a background in lacrosse before playing football, and so we're excited to see him play. And we get to, depending on where you live and what school you support, you don't get to see a lot of these phenomenal athletes maybe on your schedule. And so this unique opportunity, you get to see those standout kids because there is talent. We've selected the quarterback from Santa Maria, which is a very small school. I met the young man, and he could have played on any 6A team here in the Valley. Phenomenal athlete, great young man. So he's just one of many examples that you'll see on this roster. And
you also look at these rosters. It's senior. This is a senior event, yes. But yet you're looking at many, many, many first-team all districts, district MVPs, Player of the Years. They're all here. It's just we know there's underclassmen out there. There's talented ones coming next year. But this load of seniors puts on a pretty good set of
talent.
After season accolades.
Absolutely. I think I talked a little bit about this last year. For the committee and the coaching staffs that get to coach this, the selection process itself is, you get real giddy about it because it's like opening up a Christmas present. You feel like if you're right in the middle of the NFL draft and you have your first choice, and you kind of approach it that way. And as we fill out the rosters for both teams, you do have to, we recognize there are some very talented kids that don't get invited to play in this game simply because there's just so many other talented kids at that same position. So, most coaches in the Valley, that your quarterback and your running back are going to be phenomenal athletes. So, everybody wants to nominate their quarterback and their running back, but unfortunately, we can't pick them all up, right? I think this year, just looking at the rosters, this election committee and the two coaching staffs did a really good job. Like, it's going to be a great matchup.
And again, we encourage the fans to get there. I talked to it with Coach Farias. I talked to Kevin. I'll talk to you about it. The difference in playing in front of a huge crowd when you can sell a Richard Flores Stadium out versus, it's just your regular average crowd means so much more to play in front of that big crowd.
Absolutely. So I remember going to one of the first few games that was put on together as an all-star game. It was held in Port Isabel. And it was a smaller venue. It was the old Port Isabel Stadium. But it was packed, and it was cool. Then a few years ago, we held it here at Sam Stadium, and that was really packed. It was great. It was a phenomenal game. There was a lot of talented kids on display. It was a lot of fun. Last year at Harlingen, kind of the same thing happened. Harlingen, great venue. Coach Davies and his staff did a phenomenal job hosting us, and they're just, excellent also. So we're excited to see what, and I guess this is a little bit of a challenge for the west side of the Valley. The east side did a great job last year hosting it and packing it out, and of course we had a lot of people from the west as well. But we would love to see that stadium packed on January 7th.
And one last thing you do for the kids, a little personality involved here. It's a disaster for announcers who are looking out there and seeing how many number ones are on the field at the same time. But you do that for a reason. You let these kids have one more little personal touch to the game.
Yes. So as you'll see, there's multiple jersey number ones, and again, that goes back to the comment I made earlier. Like, everybody wants to nominate their quarterback and their running back, and a lot of times those guys wear jersey number one. They're playmakers, and so we don't tell them, hey man, we can only have one jersey number one. So I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag. On the East squad, I think we have 7 jersey number ones, right? But every one of those kids, you'll see, like, those are all recognizable names, and you know that those guys are playmakers. And so again, it's a unique situation, but we want to make sure that we keep the focus on celebrating those that need to be celebrated. And in this case, it's our kids, and it's a win-win because all the money raised goes right back to kids here in the Rio Grande Valley.
But once again, you allow the kids to one more time wear the number that they're used to wearing. That's the significance of the multiple number
I think
ones.
this might be the first time ever we'll have a jersey number 0 because that was a new UIL rule change. So we actually drafted a kid with jersey number 0. So that's going to be kind of cool.
That's kind of cool. All right. Anything last you want to say to the fans before we head into diving into these rosters and then talking to the coaches?
No, I think these coaches are ready to get going and show just how good they each did in selecting their team. So, but we'll see you January 7th. Can't do it without you. And again, it's going to be a great party. Make sure you're there.
Richard Flores Stadium in Edinburgh, January 7th. We'll be back with more. We'll start to talk about some players, and then we'll talk to the coaches. Back after this.
We are the Westwood Panthers, and we are watching Real Sports Live.
Music lovers, you have to stop and see the assortment of records, tapes, and records memorabilia at Forever Memories today. Located at 237 North Sam Houston in San Benito, Texas, there's over 10,000 records on display and more coming every day. Looking for your favorite album from the past, first pressings, collectibles. How about a 45 with a single you just have to have? Freddie Fender, Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Elvis, Beatles, blues, rock, classics, Tejano, it's all here. Organized and priced for you. Forever Memories, 237 North Sam Houston, San Benito.
watching Real Sports Live.
Hi, I'm
Back here, Luke Furia Motors here in Brownsville, Texas, as we continue to talk about the RGV Coaches Association All-Star Football Game, which takes place on January 7th, and this is the first time anyone's going to hear these names. Kevin Naro back to join me, and Kevin, let's just dive right into it. Let's start with the East All-Stars. We're going to break this up, and but we're going to run down some names here with you. 7 number ones on this team. For those that want to try to announce a game, I dare you to jump out there with 7 number ones and try to rattle off names on the fly. So when we're out there covering that game, I know the challenge for us is to pick out those players, recognize who's who, and understand where those helmets are coming from, because that's our identifying mark, Kevin. Let's run down the list. The first is number 0, and that'll be coming from Westaco. That's Gavin Silva. He was a first-team all-district player. Also, then we get into the number 1s. La Feria's Justin Rodriguez, a wide receiver. Also, Porter's Gunnar Williams. St. Joe's Ethan Gallegos. San Benito's Rodney Rodriguez. Harlingen South's Carlos Mossboss. Brownsville Rivera, Alec Guzman. From Lyford, Oscar Martinez. Wearing jersey number 2, Brownsville Veterans Michael McHale. Harlingen's Aiden Sandoval. Wearing number 3s will be Brownsville Veterans Jay Valdez. Wearing number 4, Brownsville Veterans Reese Sampaio. From Santa Maria, wearing number 5 this year, Chris Ibarra on the east side. Westaco East, wearing number 6 will be Diego Ortiz. Wearing number 8 is San Benito's Mariano Garcia. Number 9 is Harlingen's Isaiah Bell. Also number 9, Brownsville Pace, Edward Guerrero. From La Villa, wearing number 10, Luke Serna. From Progreso, wearing number 11, Fernando Vazquez. From Brownsville Lopez, wearing number 15 is Jacob Cortines. Also number 15 is Lyford's Osmar Martinez. Number 16 is Rio Hondo's Tony Borentius. Number 17 from this year's East team is Harlingen's Albert Vazquez. Number 18 from Westaco is Angel Lopez. Number 20 is Brownsville Hannah's Chris Pena. Westaco East wearing number 20 as well, Carlos Roman. Marine Military Academy defensive back Drake Robinette also wears number 20. And from Raymondville, it's Hunter Posis. He'll be playing linebacker wearing number 21. Let's pause there in the middle of this East roster, Kevin, and let's run down some of those names, because you see a lot of skill guys already showing up on that East side.
Yeah, I see a lot of skill guys, you know, starting with the small schools, you know, right off the bat. Hunter Posas, he was a defensive player of the year, a linebacker, and I know when they had Gutierrez get hurt early in the year, Hunter could even go back there and play some quarterback. Somebody talk about versatility, but you know, Hunter Posas is one of those guys where he's just that dude, you know, and he is as tough as nails, and he plays that linebacker position really well. And what I'm excited to see is both Hunter Posas, and then looking up at the roster and seeing Mariano Garcia from San Benito, who might have just been one of the top linebackers this year from San Benito. And again, I'm always going to go back to that play against Taft, that Superman play that Mariano made. You know, so just having Hunter Posas and Mariano Garcia at the linebacking position, that's pretty darn impressive. You know, at the running back position, you know, you're looking at Isaiah Bell, who had a tremendous year as a senior there for Harlingen. And then you have, you know, a little Chris Pena, man, that kid from Brownsville, Hannah. I think he and I are the same height. You know, that's not saying much, but this kid, I mean, he's got a big heart, man, and he runs the ball just as hard as anybody out there. And I was a real fan of Chris Pena. You look at the skill guys on the outside. You know, Aiden Sandoval had a big year. Michael McHale, Oscar Martinez from Lyford. You know, Carlos Mossboss, too. They listed him here as an athlete, but Carlos can do a little bit of everything there at Harlingen South. Gunnar Williams, that kid's tremendous. He just played. Chris Pena, too. A couple of these kids played in that blue and gray game up in Arlington this past weekend. But Gunnar Williams is one of those staple kids at Brownsville Porter. His pops, Farrell, has been the OC there at Porter. So to see Gunnar be able to play in the All-Star All-Star game is a pretty good deal. Talking about athletes, Rodney Rodriguez from San Benito, and a guy that played quarterback. He can play receiver. And, of course, you have Ethan Gallegos, whose numbers were really, you know, they were up top with the best of them this year for St. Joe. And so for Ethan to play quarterback, and he's gonna have guys to throw to, like Gunner, and hand it off to Isaiah Bell, and I think that's a pretty darn impressive first half. Mind you, this is only the first half of the roster. Reese Sampaio this year, the year he had Jay Valdez, obviously with the year that Brownsville veterans had, and Michael McHale. I know he was injured for some time this year, but when he was on the field, he was very effective.
Those fans that are accustomed to or that are fans of the running game, if the East All-Stars decide, well, we're going to line it up and we're going to run it, they certainly have athletes that can run this football and make it an exciting All-Star game, to say the least. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll go through the second part of the East All-Stars, and then we'll get into the West side. But again, this is the announcing right here first and foremost on the Luke Furia Show here on Rio Sports Live of the RGV Coaches Association All-Star football rosters for their All-Star game, which takes place, again, mark the calendar, January 7th, Richard Flores Stadium. $5 is the ticket price. Circle the calendar. Meet us there. Let's fill the place up. We'll be back with the second part of the East roster right after this.
Benito, and see for yourself the many things this community has to offer. Our offices of economic development offer a variety of business resources to developers, investors, and business owners from small to large scale. Contact us and let us work together on your next business opportunity.
We are Arlington Cardinal basketball, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Back here at Luke Furia Motors in Brownsville, Texas, we continue on with the announcing of these all-star teams. Kevin Nard on my left-hand side, appreciate him making it in. He's been a little under the weather and been zipping around to all these playoff football games, and now just transitioned right into basketball. He was at a doubleheader last night. Probably should have been home. So here he is today. Again, for those of you that are watching the show, if you're just tuning in, we're announcing the rosters of the RGV Coaches Association Football All-Star Game, which is on January 7th. We've got halfway through the East, and by the way, we'll be posting this on our website, on our social media sites, on Rio Sports Live pretty quickly after we're done with this show for you to kind of dissect it a little bit more. But we had the first part. Let's get into the second part, and then we'll talk a little bit more about this East side. We also have both coaches here, which is kind of neat because we have the head coaches on the East side and the West Coast that are going to join us later on the show, and we'll let them talk about the players that are on the roster. Here we go. Number 24, San Benito's DeAnthony Morales. Wearing number 26 this year will be Los Fresnos' Josh Munoz. San Benito's Homer Quiroz will wear number 27. From Santa Rosa, it's Rigo Hernandez. He'll wear number 31. Harlingen South's number 32 is Caleb Anaya. Also wearing 32 is Ed Calchelsa's Marlon Barco. From Brownsville Veterans, wearing number 34, Brian Chavez. Harlingen South's Andrew Lona will be wearing number 35. For Westaco, Jeremiah Vega will wear number 44. For Brownsville Veterans, Gary Balderas will be wearing number 48. Harlingen South wearing number 50 is Esteban Morales. The Brownsville veteran Charger is Christian De La Garza. He'll be wearing number 54. For Los Fresnos, how about Jesus Posada wearing number 55. Port Isabel's Jaden Gonzalez will wear number 55. And Everardo Reyes from La Villa will wear number 56. Wearing 65 from Harlingen is Derek Perez. From San Benito, wearing number 70 will be Frank Medina. Number 73 is La Villa's Jaime Esteche. From La Feria, number 76 is Rudy Sanchez. Wearing number 77, how about Harlingen's Roy Reyna, Rio Hondo's Scott Atkinson, and Mercedes Erasmo January. Wearing number 88, Brownsville veterans Manny Lerma. Number 90 will be Harlingen's Pedro Silgura. Number 94, Brownsville Porter's Sam Moreno. Wearing number 99 will be Brownsville Pace Kevin Garcia and Brownsville Hannah Manrique Cantu. Well, we talked about a lot of the lower numbers, which generally are a lot of the skill position players being on this East side. Well, there's a couple other skill players. Brian Chavez now added to the backfield of the East All-Stars when we talk about the second part of this roster.
Yeah, the second part, Brian Chavez is one of the names there, listed as a running back, but also he can play linebacker. But we saw what he can do at the running back position with that monster game in the playoffs earlier this year with 9 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that was insane. But defensively, I think this Brownsville veterans coaching staff, I think they're going to have a lot of fun with it. They got the 2 DBs from San Benito and Homer Quiroz and DeAnthony Mireles You know, that San Benito defense was very good this year. You know, they proved that they could play pretty well and they could play with the best of them. Caleb Anaya, a linebacker from Harlingen South. So just, you know, now you're adding Hunter Posas, Mariano Garcia, and Caleb Anaya, and then you could also throw Brian Chavez in the mix at linebacker. I mean, that's a pretty tough linebacking core. That's a pretty good defense if you ask me. You know, just looking at these names up and down. Christian De La Garza too for Brownsville veterans. He had a big year up front for them. So, you know, every year you look at the rosters that come out from the east side. It's like, well, this year they're stacked. This year they're stacked. But I think this is one of the more stronger years defensively. Seeing what they have on the defensive side of the ball, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and you look at an all-star game. I know in all-star basketball games, you want to see a bunch of points scored. And in baseball, you want to see those pitchers and see what they can do against the big hitters. In a football game, there's nothing wrong with having just those amazing defensive players out there, you know, flying around to the football, making some big plays, and just wreaking havoc in the secondary when you're trying to attack from over the top. But the East All-Stars definitely looks like a talented bunch this year. And Kevin, before we take the break and we talk about the West All-Stars, let's bring it home a little bit for you. Richard Flores Stadium is a location for this one. You know, talk about that place when you've been there at some of the bigger games. I know Vella's packed the house at times over there. You know, talk about what it means to have Richard Flores packed for these players to be able to play in front of a big stadium over there.
Well, I think first and foremost, being from Edinburgh and it's maybe 5 minutes from my house, I'm happy that it's back home in Edinburgh. I think it was overdue. It's going to be a little emotional too. Of course, Coach Flores passed away earlier this year, and that was, ironically enough, Vela was playing, I think it might have been Rio Grande City on a Thursday night, and I was on my way to the game, and I got a phone call that Coach Flores had passed away. So I got to the stadium, and I went and talked with Coach Roy Garza for a little bit. He was the AD at Edinburgh North, and I was there. So we were just kind of reminiscing on things. And then, of course, I ran into the great Dr. Greg Selber before the game. So, you know, he and I were just, you know, talking as we normally do. And I asked him, I said, hey, you know, do you mind if you give me a couple words on Dr. Flores or Coach Flores? He said, yeah, sure. So, of course, Selber being Selber, you know, he gave a minute's worth of his time. But in that 1 minute, just so much knowledge of Coach Flores and what he meant to football in the Valley. So I think it's going to be very emotional being that it's back at Flores Stadium, considering he just passed away a couple months ago. But, you know, I'm hoping we can pack Flores Stadium. It's one of the older places. You know, it may not have the glitz and the glamour of a Bobby Lackey, but it's a great place to be. I know the turf is new and the scoreboard's brand new. And let's pack that place. And, you know, Richard Flores, you know, it's funny because I technically played one game on that field, but it doesn't even count because it was like 8th grade football when I went to B.O. Garza. So, you know, I played a game there. I grew up going to games there. When I was a lot younger, we would watch the Bobcats play there. I remember the scoreboard used to be on the opposite side, and it had on the scoreboard it had the Bobcat and it had the Cougar, and whenever like the Bobcats would score, the little eyes would light up.
Yeah.
When they would score. So, you know, there's a lot of history there, and you know, right across the street from Florida Stadium where the Vipers practice facility is at, those used to be baseball fields. I want to say there might have been 3 or 4 baseball, you know, little league fields there. That's where I played my little league ball.
Okay.
On Nick Gunther Senior Field. And then, you know, right next to it was the old Parks and Rec. And then there was a park there. A lot of people forget that there was an actual park there. And then that's where the Goalie and Gus, the swimming pools were at. That's where I also learned how to swim. So that's where I grew up learning how to swim. And then, so there's a lot of history and a lot of things that go back, you know, back in the day when I was a kid. So I think it's really cool that the All-Star Game is going to be back home in Edinburgh. And I hope everyone comes out and packs that place. But you asked, have I seen it packed before? Yeah, I've seen it packed before. I think it was probably the biggest crowd I've seen there might have been in 2015 maybe when Edinburgh played Vela. That one year, that first year maybe.
Yep.
Somewhere in the middle of the decade. But, yeah, no, hey, that place was packed from top to bottom. So I've seen it packed before, and I'm hoping it gets packed again.
We'll talk about the West All-Stars, and we'll get to their roster right after this. We're at Luke For You Motors, Cadillac Buick GMC in Brownsville, Texas. Back with more after this.
Hello from Los Fresnos CISD, an A-rated Texas Education Agency district. A stands for Academic Excellence at Los Fresnos CISD, where pathways to secondary success are being built for students at the brand new Resaca Middle School campus. A stands for Academic Advancement at Los Fresnos High School, where the College Center provides a jump start on college and career readiness that includes advanced placement classes, dual enrollment options, CTE opportunities, and scholarship money. Los Fresnos CISD, an A-rated and 7-time post-secondary readiness distinction district.
We are Edinburgh Bella, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
We are back here at Luke For You Motors, and let's talk about the West All-Star team for the RGV Coaches Association All-Star Football Game, which takes place on January 7th. They'll still be in football shape, my friends, and they'll be ready to roll. We talked about the East team. Let's talk about the West. Let's break it down like this. Chris Quintanilla from La Jolla Palmview will be wearing number 1. Armando Ramirez III from PSJ North will be wearing number 4. Number 5 will be Xavier Villanueva from Mac High. Edinburgh North's number 5 will be Orlando Gonzalez. Wearing number 7 will be Alberto Del Angel from Mission High. PSJA North will have Nick Goana at number 8. Wearing number 13 will be Jaden Perez from La Jolla. Edinburgh North will have number 19, Keyshawn Garcia. Number 21 from Edinburgh North will be Eddie Gonzalez. Mission Veteran Memorial, number 2 will be Oscar Valdez. Number 14, Cole Wodaziak from Sherryland Pioneer. Sherryland High School, Kevin Garcia wearing number 53. Edgar Otero wearing number 65 will be from Donna North. Jesus Hinastrosa wearing number 65 from La Jolla Palmview. Donna High's Mario Limon will wear number 71. Jordan Ayala wearing number 89 from Edinburgh High. Valley View's Diego Sepulveda will wear number 99. Also wearing number 99 is Jake Duffner from Vela. Sherryland High School's Kali Numga will wear number 80. Sherryland High School also number 2, Gabriel Guajardo. Number 6, Damian Carbajal from Hidalgo. And number 9 will be Sean Villegas from PSJ North. Vela's number 13 will be Julian Guevara. Number 22, Alejandro Navajar from McAllen Row. From Donna High will be number 26, Matthew Lopez. Number 33, Samuel Serta. Edinburgh North. Edinburgh High will have number 34, Jonathan Maldonado. Whereas Lincoln, number 44, is Jaime Buddy Flores. Number 54, Mission Veterans, that's Mission Vets, Joe Padilla. Number 63 will be Edinburgh North, Stephen Flores. Juan Meza, number 66 from PSJA High. And number 66, Beto Salazar from Sherryland High School. We got a second page. Let's pause there. That's the first time I've seen this list as well. But again, here come the West All-Stars, Kevin.
Yeah, looking at the West, you got a good blend of athletes, and a couple of names that stick out. Nanguma, the kicker from Sherryland. I think the game you and I did earlier this year.
Yeah.
I said there's no question here. I think they can just kick it. I mean, that's probably one of the better kickers, and his coach is here. He can testify to that later in the show. But he's probably one of the better kickers I've seen in a really long time, and those are hard to find. Kids that can kick like that. Jake Duffner, obviously, he's one of the headlining names. That just did a lot of really good things for Edinburgh Vela over the last few years. Keyshawn Garcia, he had a big year for Edinburgh North. Nick Guyona, one of the few seniors from PSJ North. He unfortunately he got hurt, so he missed some time. But Armando Ramirez, defensive back, also for PSJ North. So very few Raiders on the list because all of them are so young. Joe Parida, the center from Mission Veterans, one of the better centers we've seen in the Valley this year, and he's probably about 5'5", 5'6", but the kid plays like he's 6'3", so he's one of the better centers, and I know he's one of the leaders on that Mission Veterans team.
We'll talk about the rest of the West All-Stars and have that roster rounded out. Again, we still have both coaches we'll have on the show as well. We're at Luke For You Motors in Brownsville, Texas. Back with more after this.
At Harlan Trojan CISD, college, career, community ready is more than just a saying. We've created 12 academies to provide students with access to fields of study that best fit their interests and passions. Within the 12 academies, there are 42 certifications that will aid students in getting a head start on a career upon graduation. Become HCISD proud and enroll today.
Back here at Luke Furia Motors, let's go to page 2, if you will, on the West All-Stars, as we'll break this down with Sherryland Pioneers. Donovan Cottrell will wear number 66. From La Jolla, wearing number 70 is Taylor Medina. Also wearing number 70 is Thomas Damian from McAllen Memorial, and Juan Alvarado from Edinburgh North. Wearing number 71 will be Economides High Eduardo Davila, that is, and Tony Garcia from McAllen Row. From Hidalgo, wearing number 74 will be Damon Zapeta. Number 77, Gabriel Darty from McAllen Row. From Roma, wearing number 1 will Ricardo Morales Jr. J.P. Cortez wears number 11. He'll be from McAllen Memorial. From Vela, it's number 12, Bobby Garcia. Wearing number 0, Ozzy Flores from PSJA Memorial. Roma will have number 20, Ronaldo Gonzalez. Max Alanis Choi, number 23 from McAllen Memorial. Wearing number 25, Edgar Villarreal, PSJA Southwest. Number 1 from PSJA High will be Andrew Castillo. Also number 1, Victor Cardenas from Rio Grande City. Sherryland Pioneer will have number 2, Joseph Graham Jr. Carlos Tamez also wears number 2 from Vela. Number 3 will be Gruya High School's Fidencio Salinas. Number 4 will be Alec Gonzalez wearing the jersey from Sherryland. Number 5, Mission High, Josiah Guzman. Number 6, Nelson Ramirez from McAllen Row. Number 7, Justin Navarro from Vela. Number 8, McAllen High is Christian Ezetarata. And number 88, McAllen High, Brian Alanis. There's some skill positions coming into play. The running backs, the wide receivers, and the quarterbacks on that west side and that part of the roster.
Yeah, the quarterback position looking pretty strong. Ricardo Morales from Roma, and McAllen Memorial's J.P. Cortez and Bobby Garcia from Edinburgh Vela. So there's a lot of athleticism there at the quarterback position. The receivers, Justin Navarro from Edinburgh Vela, and then Josiah Guzman from Mission, Alec Gonzalez from Sherryland, and then Joseph Graham Jr. From Pioneer. We saw Victor Cardenas this year for Rio Grande City. Brandon was a big Victor Cardenas fan, by the way. There's a lot of talent on the outside for these quarterbacks. There's a lot of depth. This kid from Mission, Josiah Guzman, that kid can fly. It's funny because they were the Eagles. They remind me of Deshaun Jackson just because of his speed, and that kid can just stretch the field. And, he was really good. Justin Navarro was the go-to guy for Edinburgh Vela, played both ways, can do kick returns. So, the receiving core and the skill guys for the West is pretty darn impressive. Joseph Graham Jr.
Yeah, another one. When we talked about the east side, we talked about the ability to put together, a strong running attack if they wanted to go that route. And we talked about the depth and the talent at the defensive end. But on this end, Kevin, it looks like, hey, you want to line it up, spread the field, and sling the ball around. You certainly have some playmakers to go get that ball.
Yeah. There's plenty to go around. 'Cause like I said, I just rattled off all those names, and that's going to be a pretty good test for that secondary on the east side.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have the coaches as we continue on with our Luke Furia Motors show on the RGV Coaches Association All-Star Football Game. Back with more after this.
You're watching Real Sports Live.
Graduation time. Time to make some decisions. What's next? Can I afford to continue my education? What are my options? At Brownsville ISD Career and Technical Education, you can graduate from high school with a certificate and or license ready to go to work. Debt-free. We have a wide range of programs for every student, ranging from audiovisual, law enforcement, STEM robotics, electrical, welding, pharmacy, patient care tech, and many more to choose from. That's why Brownsville ISD is the best choice.
We're Edinburgh High Basketball, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
For quality care, contact Mesquite Home Health and Attendant Services today. In Brownsville at 594 Jose Marti Boulevard. Call today, 956-361-5558.
We here at Mesquite want to wish all local athletes good luck in today's game.
We're Harvest Christian Academy, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Music lovers, you have to stop and see the assortment of records, tapes, and records memorabilia at Forever Memories today. Located at 237 North Sam Houston in San Benito, Texas, there's over 10,000 records on display and more coming every day. Looking for your favorite album from the past, first pressings, collectibles? How about a 45 with a single you just have to have? Freddie Fender, Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Elvis, Beatles, blues, rock, classics, Tejano, it's all here. Organized and priced for you. Forever Memories, 237 North Sam Houston, San Benito.
We're the MMA Leathernecks, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Take a ride or ride a wave, build a castle or visit a castle, morning stroll or nighttime roll. That's as hard as it gets at South Padre Island. Voted Texas Travel Awards Destination of the Year. Plan your escape at sopadre.com.
We're the Christian Vets Lady Patriots, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Back here at the Look For You Motors, you see the Cadillac symbol of that behind us. They're a Cadillac dealer, also GMC and Buick. Well, we talked about rosters. We talked about putting this all-star game together. And now we got the two guys that are going to be taking all this talent and figuring out who's going to play at what different time. Coach Craig Krell from Sherryland, Coach Kelly Lee will be coaching the East squad, Brownsville Veterans. All right, coaches, your season was over, but now it's not, because look at all this talent you got coming at you.
Yes, sir. It's great honor for these young men. It's a great honor for us coaches to coach this game. But we met with these young men the other day, and it was a heck of a film room, I can tell you that.
Coach Lee, when you look at your team, we talked about the roster. Let's talk about them.
Well, we are excited about the size that we have. At Brownsville Vet, we didn't have a lot of size. So it's nice to have some big boys, and we got a bunch of them on the East squad.
We looked at it on the East side that, man, if you wanted to, you could put an Isaiah Bell, a Brian Chavez in the backfield at the same time. And I think that's a nightmare for any coach. But talk about it as a head coach saying, yeah, I could put that lineup out there.
Yeah, that'd be about 450 pounds or 460 pounds of running back. So that'd be nice. But, no, we have some great running backs. The kid from Hannah is a really talented running back too, and Brian and Isaiah Bell. So, we're a run-oriented system, so it's nice to have those guys.
And Coach, on your side, when you hear those kind of names, I know you may not have played them all, but the film room certainly filled with plays made by these kind of guys. And you look at that kind of running attack, first and foremost, you got to start looking at your defenders saying, get ready for this. That lead blocker is going to be as good as you're ever going to see.
Yes, sir. They did a great job running the ball during the season. I don't expect any different now. They've got the All-Stars that they'll want to do the same thing during the All-Star game itself.
Talk to me. You guys have been in All-Star games before. All right, let's first start with you. All right, when you assemble your team, and January 7th, it seems like a long way away. It's really not.
No.
You're going to get them together a couple times. It's not like you're going to have them every day. Walk me through what happens in your process as a coach, getting these players ready, and then that first kickoff.
This is the third time I've had the privilege of coaching this. Once before when I was at Mac High as an assistant, when I first moved over to Sherryland as a coordinator, and then now as a head coach, finally, getting an opportunity to do this. And assembling the team was, the first thing I look for is the coach's first pick, because to me that means a lot. It's the coach's first pick is one that they want to make sure that they get on the squad, and we want to honor that as a staff. Obviously we don't get to sit down with these kids every day during the season and stuff like that. So that's where we started with trying to fill the team is to make sure that we got, the coach's number one pick on there, and then we kind of went around position by position and trying to fill our needs from there. But it's a great experience, and it's great fun, and when you get all these kids together on both sides of the ball, it's a heck of a ball game.
Coach Lee, what's your first practice going to be like? What do you do with all this talent and knowing you could go deep?
Yeah, you got to make sure you don't get too elaborate, because you only got a few practices, so you probably could sit there and brainstorm all kinds of things. But we agreed on we're each only going to run 3 formations, and we're not going to blitz and stuff like that, because we want it to be feel like a true game. And sometimes with limited practice, you don't want it to be crazy. So, we told our guys, our coaches, we're going to put in our offensive, defensive game plan and everything the first 3 practices before Christmas, and then we're coming back. We got 3 more right before the game, and then we'll come back and basically repeat those practices and get them ready to play. And then they're all-stars. Kids want to go play, and their parents want to see them play, and their friends want to see them play. So that's the exciting part.
Coach Krell, 6 practices, that really does get you a chance to break some things down. You can work on certain things during certain practices.
Yeah, we're gonna start out the first day, and trying to just kind of do an overall install on both sides of the ball. Our second day, we're not having our practice field just because simply soccer games. We're using our stadium, but we got soccer games. So then we're going to kind of implement all of our special teams on that second day and come back on that third day. And like Coach said, it's pretty much just try to finish up installing all of our offense and defense. And then once the break goes, when we come back, we're just going to try to polish.
I know during preseason, as a reporter over the years, I always would kind of gauge from the coach, tell me when that practice is. And when I mean that practice, it's when is the one you're going to go full tilt and we're going to see the most pops, the most hits going on. Do you do that, Coach Lee, when you're working with All-Stars? Do you have that, what I would call that practice, in which if you're going to see some hitting, it's going to happen here?
Well, you're probably going to do it at least once. Ours would probably be right before they go to Christmas. So, if they're bruised up and sore, they got a long time to heal up. But you want to do one because you want to, get back in a little bit hitting shape. It's just like a boxer. You need to be able to take some punches, and you want to find out who's who, and how they match up. And it's a chance for good on good because it's an all-star. So they're going to get to see really good competition in practice, which is going to prepare them to see really good competition in the game, maybe at a higher level than they've seen week in and week out during the regular season. So, you're going to do a little bit, get heated here and there through practice, but probably the one day we'll tee it up will be the last day before Christmas. We leave for Christmas break.
Coach Krell?
It's going to be the same here. Monday's going to be a lot of learning. Tuesday's going to be our special teams, and then, like Coach said, we want one day of physical contact and making sure that we get after it, because some of these kids, it has been 3-4 weeks since they've had the pads on and stuff like that. So we want a couple days of them getting used to the pads, and then obviously we want for sure some high intensity. Like you said, it's good on good, so you don't want to beat them up and ruin them in practice, but we do need to get after it. So
I knew there would be that one practice, and that's a question you don't ask as a reporter when you're talking about the regular season, because so often coaches don't want to let that cat out of the bag. But
sure,
when an All-Star game comes, I know there's a certain point you got to say, I got to see what this tackle that I've never seen before in my life, how he reacts to this big D lineman that's on the other side. How does he react? Yeah. Because somebody's coming after him when it gets to game time. Let's talk about, from a coaching perspective, Coach Krell, we'll start with you. With your coaches, do you rely on a lot of film coming in to take a look at your players to understand their positions? And do you look at players through film on the other side? Or is this just simply we're going to look what we got, we're going to play?
Some of it is a little bit of both. Obviously, we play against a lot of these guys, during the season, whether it's scrimmages, non-district, district games. Some of it is, I haven't seen all these kids, on the field yet. Obviously, when we left the playoffs, these guys were playing. Far North was playing. We go check those games out. So you get a chance, an opportunity to see a lot of them and what they can do. But have I seen all of them on film? No. And in those regards, we're just going to come in and see what they can do and evaluate them as we go along.
Coach Lee, evaluate on the fly, or do you rely on your coaches doing some homework on some players?
Well, when the nominations came in, we kind of went through and we're pulling up huddle And like Coach said, some of the kids you played against them, you've seen them, but the other ones, we pulled up huddle, and it really was nice if some of them had their highlight tapes there and you could watch them. Some kids, there was a lot of film on, some there wasn't much. Might have pulled up a game. But as we were selecting, we were trying to watch a little bit. It kind of brought me back to my college days when you were recruiting and evaluating players. So we kind of had some fun with that, but we did that kind of as our selection. I think that's really cool with this All-Star game is that the coaching staffs get to help select the team. Whereas a lot of times you get an all-star team that's picked for you, you just go coach it. But we, in a lot of cases, we got to help select the team. So that was fun. But as far as getting ready for the opponent, we know they're all going to be good. We know that they're all going to play. There's not much scouting to be done on the talent. They're all good players, and we're all going to make sure they all get playing time. So it's just kind of use your 6 practices to get your team ready and then go out and have a good time.
And I know every coach generally answers this question. This is what I called one of those softball questions during an interview, and that is, Coach, are you out there to have fun, or are you out there to win the game? And most coaches will tell me, we want to make sure they have fun. We want to make sure they get the experience. But really, let's start with you, Coach Krell. Fourth quarter. You want to walk out of there, you want to win that football game.
You want to win. The last one we did was it was a barn burner. It was 0-0. It was a tie, I gave Coach Adami a little bit of grief when we were doing it because I said, hey, man, I did my part. We got to shut up as a defensive coordinator, But, yeah, you want to go out there and win, obviously. We want all the kids to go out there and experience and have a good time and show off their talents one last time, hopefully, in front of family and friends. And if they want to choose that opportunity to go and play at the next level, hopefully we can – get those guys just a little bit more viewing time for maybe a couple college coaches that are going to be down here. But when it comes down to it in fourth quarter, you want to win.
Therefore, I throw the question at you, Coach Lee. When you say up front, well, we've agreed we're going to run 3 plays each. We're going to 3 formations, okay?
Right.
But then I know also every coach in the world will say, well, now from this formation, I can do 17 different things. How many plays do you say? And if it gets down to crunch time, I'm going to have a couple of those we're going to throw at them.
Well, sure. I think Coach and I agreed. We agreed on formations. We said we could motion. So you motion, that gives you a little flexibility, to do stuff. But in these all-star games, if you try to do too much, you're going to get yourself in a bind anyway. So they're all good players. It's really about just giving them the opportunity to be successful. And, I think we want them to have a good time, and we want them to put them in a position in the fourth quarter where they have a chance to win a game. And then that's when those competitive juices get going, Have a lot of fun, be there in the fourth quarter, and then let's see who's going to win,
Coach Lee, what's it mean for you to be able to one more time see your players that were with you over the season and get one more chance to coach
them?
I
think Coach would agree. That's probably the best part of doing this is you have a good year and you get one more time with your seniors. You get to watch them play. You get to coach them one more time. That's probably what I'm most excited about this opportunity, and for our coaching staff as well.
Coach Krell, your thoughts as you get to watch your players one more time and look them in the eye and say, this is what we're going to do.
That it is special. It's always hard that last one because unless you win the state championship, that last one with your seniors is a loss. So that's always difficult no matter how early or how long you have that run. It's never a great feeling. It can be a special feeling, but to have it one more time and put your arm around them and give them a hug and thank them for everything they did, it's a special time.
Coach Lee, from a perspective of the RGV Coaches Association, you use a lot of the funds that come in from the crowd to give back to the players to make sure they have an opportunity to move on. How important is that as a coach to look at the players and say, this might be the one play I can draw up that lets you get seen by a college, you might get that one next level play?
Yeah, I think that's really cool, and especially those guys that that can really go play at that level. If you can put them in a situation where they can shine and have that opportunity that might draw a coach's eye, that would be very rewarding for them, and it would be a great feeling for you as a coach as well.
Coach Kevin, touch base on your kicker, and by you, I'm talking about your all-star kicker and your kicker on your team. He's out there right now trying to get that spot. And talk to me about what it means for you to have guys like that get that one chance, that one kick might say, college is going to sign him right now.
We talked about it in the break. Callie DeGuma's been our kicker for 4 years. He goes to all these kicking camps. He just got done with Cole's kicking camp this past weekend, and he actually won the field goal competition. he went 10 for 10, and he finished with a 58-yard field goal. So this is a young man that we're trying to get at, to a big-time university on a scholarship, and just let him show his ability to coaches, and he's been working on that for a long, long time. So to have him have another opportunity and get him out there and hopefully get him seen by some more coaches, that's always huge. Not only him, but anybody else that has that wish to keep moving on.
And let me ask one final question here. I told Kevin we could have a 3-hour show here, easy, and just keep talking. But you guys have been down here a long time. I appreciate you coming down to Brownsville. Coach Krell, we'll start with you. When you talk about getting a chance to play in a Richard Flores Stadium, and I make sure I bring this up in every segment, how important is it when you look at an all-star game and those stands are full?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the kids feed off it. They talk about it just at on a Friday night in terms of us just being there. But anytime you can have a full packed stands and the crowd's roaring and you just, even as a coach, you can just feel almost the crowd, the noise coming from behind just almost kind of makes your hair stand up on the back of your neck. It is something special, not only as a coach, but especially as our players. So we'd love to see a great crowd out there. We'd love to see family, friends, coaches, all these people supporting our young men that have put so much into this sport, and let them see them one last time on a high school field.
And Coach Lee, I'm gonna round it out with you. What's it like as a coach when you suddenly see that the rivalries are all gone? We saw that during the playoffs when the PSJA North made the long run and suddenly there were jerseys from every school around. What's it like when you see that happening as an all-star coach, that the rivalries are gone? These guys have played against each other for 4 years. They're seniors. They're on my team. What's it like?
Yeah, well, I think you see it's a natural phase of life. You're moving on to the next phase. And football's very sudden, because it's not a game that you continue playing throughout your whole life. And kids put so much into it from the junior high, the weights, and all of a sudden they play that last game and it's over. You know what I mean? So now some of them get that one more chance, to go out there and do it. And it's in a different environment with other people, and to see those barriers kind of break down and to see them moving on to a new phase of their life. It's just kind of a transition moment. It's really cool.
Cool stuff. Coach Krell, Coach Lee, we look forward to seeing you on the sidelines.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
There's your head coaches. We've had the announcement of the rosters. All we got to do is get some practices in. I'm going to be at that one day. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to be at that practice. I want to see those hitting going on. And then we'll, of course, have the game. Again, it's at Richard Flores Stadium. It's in Edinburgh. It's January 7th. Hope you enjoyed our show here from Luke Furia Motors. That's going to wrap it up. Kevin nursing his throat, and I'm not going to make him talk anymore. Thanks again for tuning in to everything we do here on Real Sports Live. Till next time, from Luke Furia Motors, Joe Bowling. So long.